follow Silvercore Outdoors on social media, you'll have noticed that we have ongoing giveaways with a number of the Silvercore Club brand partners. Marathon Watches, Armament Technology, SAI Optics, Nanook Cases, Bear Watch Systems, Alaska Guide Creations, and many more. This is on top of the regular discounts that Silvercore Club members get on these and a whole slew of other products and services. Silvercore Club members can get more chances to win by participating in these giveaways, but they're already entered for free, included as a part of their membership. Now, if you wanted a sure win, all you have to do is leave a review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify Podcasts. Take a screenshot of that review, send it on in to info@silvercore.ca with your mailing details, and we're going to send you off a Silvercore Outdoors sticker. Your efforts in leaving these reviews makes a great deal of difference to the visibility of the Silvercore podcast, and it allows us to be able to continue to get high caliber guests like the one we have today. So without further ado, let's get on with this podcast. You may remember today's guest from Silvercore Podcast episode 117. He spent 3 weeks in a German hospital after an IED explosion in Afghanistan, recovering from no fewer than 47 broken bones, including a massive skull fracture. Since then, he's helped countless others overcome personal trauma and PTSD by sharing his story. Today, he's the trusted presence behind Beretta Defense Technologies as a manager in the Defense and Law Enforcement Division. Welcome back to the Silvercore Podcast, David MacDonald.
Thank you, Travis, for having me again. It's great to be back, honestly. Thank you for inviting me. As I said, I've been following you for the last, since I left my last podcast. You've had an amazing series of guests, so honestly, I feel a little inadequate being here today, but I'm excited to get back. Let's do this again.
Hey, you're one of those amazing guests, that's for sure.
Appreciate that.
So what is it that brought you over here?
So we're in BC this week, or like that. There's the Canadian Association of Chief of Police conference and trade show. It happens every year in August. It rotates throughout the country. So last year was in Halifax, and then they circle back and they do it in Victoria. So I've spent the last 3 days out on the island.
Yeah.
Just doing the trade show, meeting with the chiefs, the deputies. There's some, the superintendents, promoting the Beretta Defense brand.
Yep.
Which we'll get to in a second or like that. But because last time I was here, we were talking about Stoker Canada. This is now there's a whole new branding we can talk about. But I'm just out and then came in today. Took the ferry over this morning or like that, and now I'm in Vancouver. I'm here to meet with some of my existing clients, if you want to call it that. So Vancouver Police, New Westminster, Surrey Police, and just kind of get some FaceTime with them.
Yeah, that's good to do. Yeah. So brand new branding with Beretta Defense Technologies. Mm-hmm. And what was the move behind there? Probably some confusion when people are thinking like, Stoker, how does this fit into things?
Yeah. So it's kind of twofold. So first of all, at the international side level of it, Beretta Defense Technologies has been a brand for a little while, but it's not really been all that recognized. So in the last year, Beretta kind of branched off the military law enforcement side of the business into a whole own legal entity. And now every company that had a defense or law enforcement business sector, we've all been required that now you're going to be renaming and rebranding under the Beretta Defense Technologies name. So in the last year, we've been really hard at work separating Stoker Canada from Beretta Defense Technologies Canada or like that. So brand new booth, brand new patches, brand new branding across the board.
Yeah.
We are in the process of actually making it a legal entity in Canada under that name.
Yeah.
And my email just this past week changed from Stoker Canada to the Beretta Defense Technologies Canada. So
got to find a new place to send all these memes to.
Yeah.
Okay. So Beretta, interesting. What, 500 years coming up?
Next year will be the 500th anniversary. So
they're one of, if I'm not mistaken, 3 maybe. I did a little bit of research before. I should probably just plug it into AI, but there's like 3 family-run businesses that have been around for that length of time or longer. Some crazy small number.
Oh yeah, it's. I mean, I think you can count on one hand how many actually are still that. And then I think we're on our 15th generation. It's still run by the exact same family. The next generation is getting ready to come up and start taking some more interest in the business. So, and they're still heavily involved. I'll be at a show next month out in London, UK, and typically one of the brothers just will show up or like that. And And you think they'd be coming in like an entourage, but he just randomly shows up in like just either a suit or even just jeans and a dress shirt. And next thing you know, you're talking to Franco or Pietro, and you're like, oh, how are you doing, sir?
Not surrounded by security.
No, not at all. No, they're but it's just incredible that we working for still. It's one of the things that I would say gives us a bit of advantage in the industry. We're not owned by a shareholding group or a credit group of companies. We're still owned by a family owned, by brother led company that we answer to ultimately to two people. And so it's really an interesting company to work for in that regard, considering if you really ever have an issue or anything like that, it's a real streamlined process to already get an answer.
Yeah, I've worked with some family businesses in the past, and I've seen some really good benefits to that, but I've also seen the difficult side of a family business. And for a family business to be around for 500 years, like, holy crow, those Italians know something about family, that's for sure,
that's
right?
for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And it's almost they're bred into it at this point or something like that. But and Beretta, I mean, we call it a Beretta. Everyone, a lot of people know the company, obviously the manufacturer Beretta, but the holdings group it just contains so much more within the group and like that. A lot of people don't realize. So
okay, so let's break it down, because I don't even think I know all the things that happens within the full holding group. I know that they're a large company. I know that they've got their fingers in a bunch of different pies. What's the totality?
So a lot of people are surprised to learn that Beretta owns Benelli, competitors in the market. Just as an established and legacy company with the firearms community.
Yeah.
But we're all sister companies together, so they're sister companies. You go, they're not that far. They're in two different valleys within Italy. You go down to the U.S. They're literally, the offices are next to each other down in just outside Washington D.C.
Yeah.
They own probably two of the probably great best bolt action precision rifle companies in the world. They own Sako and Tikka. And in that, you can't have a precision rifle company without an optics company. So they also own Steiner and Burris. So you got both the high-end, real super precision military and precision hunting scopes, and you got Burris, which is excellent scopes in their own right, or like that within the tactical and the hunting community.
Yeah.
And the most recent acquisition, I'm not even touching on all of them or like that, but the most recent acquisition was in the end of 2023. Just after, actually, I was last year or something like that. Beretta purchased the Ruag Group. So 5 of the world's largest ammunition manufacturers, which closed that gap on
holy crow
on what we can provide. So really, we are a full service provider.
Yeah.
And where does Beretta Defense Technologies or Stoker Canada, which is the commercial side, come into play? Is that we are owned. We're not, we're not a partnership agreement with Beretta where we're under a contractual agreement which can end or be terminated like that. Beretta purchased our company years ago, back in the early 2000s. So we are owned directly. We actually we are essentially the factory of all those companies within Canada. So I've told some of the services, as I'm going to meet with a couple of them tomorrow and like that. And it's if they have an issue or they want something or they need a detail. Just today I was talking with a service needed a detail on one of the Tikka's rifles they had, and it was more of a technical question involving what kind of powder on the round they should be using or like that.
Yeah.
And the advantage I have is it's not me sending an email through a direct list of chain of middlemen or like that. It's literally just calling the production manager over at Tikka and saying, hey, I have this question, and he gets back to me within based on his own time frame and the time zones, because we're dealing with Finland here, which is a couple hours ahead of us, but based on that, you can usually get an answer within a day.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, yeah, I went over. I was in Finland, went over to the factory there, and I saw their operations, and I was blown away by a few things. So the Finnish culture is a little different than what we're used to over here.
A little bit, a little bit, but similarities in their own right, which is interesting and like that. It's almost like it's
well, you'll tell a joke, and they'll just look at you. And then later on, they'll say, that was a really funny joke.
They do that. But I find that the culture of kind of, obviously they're really big on their saunas, and they're really big on being in nature.
Yeah.
But I literally heard last time I was over there, we were going into this lake or something like that, and they warned me ahead of time, hey, it's not so bad once you get in. And I'm like, that's our saying, man. That's So a bunch of Americans were with us, and they're like, what does that mean? I'm like, well, you're about to find out.
Yeah. Everyone looks at jumping in a lake as being a terrible thing. Oh, it's going to be so cold. I don't know. If it's freezing outside and the top is frozen, the water underneath is actually going to be warmer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
right?
Yeah. But the Sako factory is incredible. Now, did you get to see the meeting room upstairs?
Uh-huh.
Where all the history of the guns?
Yeah, that was great. So that was recently redone, they said.
Yes, yeah.
So that was like part of their original. So they had all their old guns, their whole museum. We got the full tour of it and the history of it, and learned about the different models that they're making. Actually, one of the guys there, Mika. Was it Mika?
It's probably Mika. It's usually either Mika, Yuso,
or Mika.
Tuka. It's very, very, very standard Finnish names. But yeah, Mika.
Mika, yeah. So Mika or Mika? Mika giving us a tour around, and he was showing, like, I guess when he was in university, he approached them and he says, I've got some design ideas and I got some things that can make it better. And I said, okay, come on in, show us what you mean. Yeah. And then a lot of the new things that are coming out are things that he brought into fruition, some of their top sellers, actually. But yeah, that was a neat place. The history behind everything was neat. I went in, I wanted to take some pictures, I wanted to do some video, and they said, no, we don't want any of that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, like what, I'd love to show people what you're doing. No, just come on in. This is cool. We want you to come in. The hospitality was crazy. Yeah. I guess that's what I'm getting at.
So you don't feel bad. I'm not allowed to take photos there either, and I work for them directly like that. So it's like, don't feel bad there at all. There's a strictly no photography rule in a lot of the places, because they want you to actually come in and actually witness with your own eyes, not stuck behind a camera, and you get like kind of almost a disconnect there. They want you to see the craftsmanship and the skill they're putting into their product. Like a lot of people don't realize, like their ammunition side of their factory, every cartridge is inspected 100% before it leaves the factory. My average check rates are less than 10% on most ammunition lots. They check 100%
single one
to make sure it is meets the standards or like that. Every barrel from the Sako factory is inspected by a person before it gets installed on a gun.
That was one of the things that I thought was interesting, because you look at the crazy machinery they have for automation, for precision CNC, and then you get down to the human inspection part, and they say, we put them through the machines, but you still can't beat the human eye for being able to spot some of the variances, like if you're barrel bending or straightening or whatever you're going to be doing. And I don't really understand how that is. I don't understand how we can have AI and space age machinery, yet we still can't match the precision of what a human can be able to.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, and a lot of the machinery in that shop is actually still relatively new.
Yeah.
Some of it, up until 10 years ago, those rifles were still made essentially by hand.
Yeah.
Production and demand has grown to the point where they needed to bring some machinery in. But I had another email this morning with one of actually a Montreal service member. So one of the things that we have to keep on, we're always stressing on the guys, is that when you buy a Sako, you're buying a Tikka. The barrel is not like another rifle. They've figured out a way, some sort of magic, how to do it. They're cold hammer forged.
Yeah.
And so today, the guy contacted me saying, I put 3,000 rounds through the gun. I've been told it's time to change the barrel. So how do I do that? And I'm like, your barrel life's not even at the halfway point yet. But it's I've personally tested a Sako TRG.
Yeah.
And we had 30,000 rounds of 308 through that barrel, and it was still shooting just fine. It's to the point now, actually, Sako no longer bother doing round counts anymore.
Really?
They ran out of ammo before they blew the barrel, before they burnt the barrel out.
That's crazy.
So instead, the way actually, and this, anyone who's listening to this, remember this because it saves me a lot of time on my emails, so I'm not having to explain this anymore like that. So the way Sako determines a barrel has reached the end of its life is if you have more than 6 centimeter shift of point of impact from point of aim, and not or and a more than 10% drop of velocity at the muzzle.
Okay.
If those, and it has to be consistent.
Okay.
We all know that muzzle velocity changes, has lots of other factors that can affect it. So it has to be consistently happening repeatedly over and over and time again, or like that. If that happens or like that, and you have both those things happen, that's an indication something's going on with your barrel. It's time to come in and get it inspected.
So say that again. It was 6% and
so it's
10%.
6 centimeter shift
centimeter.
in point of impact from your point of aim.
Yeah.
And a 10% drop in velocity at the muzzle.
So you need both of those things.
Both things happen consistently across the board over multiple shots.
Okay, so anyone getting the rifle to begin with should get things zeroed in, have a decent idea of what their average velocity is going to be like, and that way they can then have a baseline on it. Just
no, there's always outside factors and like that. Like if you're hand loading and you're hold loading super hot rounds, it's going to burn your barrel out faster.
Yeah,
that's an unknown factor that we can't speak to or like that because there's certain powders that work better than others and like that. But when you're dealing with commercial grade ammunition or like that, I can tell you these barrels can go for thousands more rounds than what they, and the other thing, get off the forums.
Oh, yeah.
You will hear 10 different things from people on, no, it's time to change it. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. I'm telling you, I'm from the factory guy.
Yeah.
This is the golden rule or like that. Those two factors.
It's funny how you get on these forums and there's a lot of experts on there. And, there are people who know what they're doing. Absolutely. They know what they're talking about. But people just go a little overboard into the minutia and all these little things that don't actually move the needle when it comes to accuracy, when it comes to issues. And very often what I find is human factor plays such a big role, but everyone's so quick to point out, oh, it's got to be this or it's got to be that. And I think you and I were talking about this before, and I was given the example of a certain agency that I was doing some gun plumbing for and getting a phone call saying, oh, hold on a second, one of our guns isn't working properly, only to show up and find out that none of the instructors had testified it. They're going off the word of one of their students. They weren't able to reproduce it. They had me fire it. I wasn't able to reproduce it. Then I had to do the tap dance of being able to help the instructors save face for not doing the first basic checks that you should do, which is if you're having an issue, give it to somebody else. Do they have the same issue? Can they replicate the same thing?
Yeah.
Because the human factor is pretty crazy. And you get on the forums and they're going to tell you, send it back, use the thing as a club that's no good anymore or whatever it might be.
Well, and you're right. I mean, I've run across agencies in, my almost 10 years of doing this that they've identified an issue, which, okay, we take everyone seriously because we have to, especially when you're dealing with law enforcement or military, because, potentially lives are at risk here, like that. They need to know their equipment's going to be good when it needs to be, or like that. But inevitably, we hear what the problem is, and we're like, okay, well, that hasn't been seen anywhere else in the world. Okay, so send it in. We'll take a look at it like that, and then one or two times. Okay, that's maybe indication there might be, maybe a potential defect or something that we weren't aware of. So, everyone, even the best manufacturer in the world, keep in mind we're still human.
Of course,
mistakes do happen. But when it happens if it's the same problem happening multiple times, that's when I started being like, let's look at your procedures here. Well, how are you actually doing? Because maybe it's something here that could be fixed with just a simple tweak in the training or something, or we need to maybe review your torque settings because sometimes, especially when we're getting from Europe and a lot of it's in Newton meters, they don't necessarily understand how that relates back to inch pounds or, God forbid, foot pounds like that. If they decide to go with that, if they get really confused. So
if you can get foot pounds out of the inch pounds and it doesn't snap on you, holy crow! Like you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, we run across that, and it's all about education, and it's making sure that not only is the initial cadre that if they receive a new weapon system or a new site trained on it, we got to make sure that training is maintained within that service because guys retire. Guys move on.
I think that's a gun manufacturer spends a lot of time and energy to research what's going to make it absolutely the best possible product that they can put out in a way that's replicable. And then people get in their hands, and the first thing they want to do is like, okay, I'm going to change the stock on it, get some chassis, and maybe I can get a different barrel, and I'm going to get it threaded for a muzzle brake. What kind of trigger can I put on? And they start taking all of these things out and putting something else in. And I get it. It's fun. And the gunsmithing portion seems to have gone by the wayside over the year, and it's more parts replacement or armor type stuff that people are doing. But it's like Tinker Toys, right? For adults, they like to get in there and kind of move it around, but you can't expect to stick your finger in the bowl of water and not expect to see some ripples.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a great way of putting it. And I can tell you, like, some of the guns we get coming back to our service and warranty center, it's barely a Beretta product anymore, potentially like that. Where it's like, okay, well, we'll service what we can, but half the stuff, it's such a Frankenstein gun at this point. Like, and as you said, I get it, and especially I'd say in a lot of the movies in the last 10 years that have come out, where you see the really high speed, low drag guns that have been really, really customized and for the movie to make it look good, and guys want to do that, and I don't blame them. I see it, and I kind of want to do it as well, like that.
I get it.
I totally understand it, and if it works, and that's great. But when something doesn't work, and you don't necessarily know what you actually did in terms of how much work you've done. It's like the not to offend anybody here, but it's like the girl who can't remember what her original hair color is anymore, like that. Like the gun is no longer in its original state, and for us to fix it, we kind of need to figure out what you did.
I think the training side, well, I mean, I'm going to be biased here. I've got a training company, but I think that's a huge thing from an OEM manufacturer side, from a marketing side. It's amazing what you can accomplish from just a gun straight out of the factory and use it the way it was properly designed to be used before you start putting all of these different things onto it. I remember Bourne Identity when Matt Damon there, Jason Bourne, and he's got himself I think it was a break action shotgun, and he's got to use it, probably using 7.5 shot bird loads or something like that. Right. But it's not about the high-speed, low-drag gun the person's got in their hands. It's about the tactics that they employ and their ability to actually hit a target and use these things. And I watched Magpul do this back in the day, where they started putting out training videos, and they made some nice, produced, glitzy kind of training videos. Basically, if you use our products and you put them on the gun, you're going to be able to shoot faster and shoot straighter. But really, all they're doing is showing people how to properly use a gun. It didn't really have anything to do with the products, although that was a great sales vehicle for them. And it also allowed them to circumvent advertising issues, because they say, well, this is product safety and this is training that they have. We're not advertising it, right? So I thought that using the education piece was important. And you see it with some of the handgun manufacturers that have their one-day course, which could be done in half an hour, right? But they spend the entire time talking about the history and the this and the that. And what they're doing is they're creating salespeople themselves out of every person that comes on through.
Well, yeah, and we're a little guilty of that as well. And we do a whole briefing of because it is important to know the background behind the company and the manufacturer when we're doing like a Tikka armor course or something like that. But it'd be a lot of people are surprised. One of my favorite facts about Tikka is that they're one of the only gun companies in the world. Well, they are the only gun company in the world to have been owned by the Red Cross.
That's right, they were
to avoid being sucked in during the Soviet occupation or anything like that. Right? Yeah. So that's just a cool factor, like fact about the company, right? But going back to the point is that I want to make really clear, I'm not hating on anybody that wants to customize their gun.
Oh.
That's what makes it fun.
Yeah, totally.
It's the same reason why people, customize their cars. There's a reason why parts exist.
Yeah.
And especially, I would say, in the current environment we have in Canada surrounding guns and gun legislation, where you necessarily can't buy any more of a certain product or something like that, but you still own it and you can use it. Well, what else? Where am I going to put my money here like that? I'm going to probably put it to maybe making it a little more customizable for myself or like that, and make it a little easier or a little more fun to fire or a little more fun to use. So
you're talking about certain things that we maybe can't own anymore. How how has that, if we're talking about, let's say, the handgun freeze in Canada, how has that affected things for Stoger, for Beretta Defense Technologies? And do you have any thoughts on where things might be moving in the future?
Yeah. Okay. Excellent question. A tough one. And I'll preface this saying that this is simply my opinion when it comes down where it would head to the future and like that. Because you talk to 10 people, 10 guys in a room, everyone's gonna have a different opinion of where this is gonna go. But in terms of how it's affected us first, we've been lucky enough at Stoger and at Brotherhood Defense that it really hasn't affected us too much. Is that the hand it did hurt.
Sure.
It was a big segment of our business that has now is no longer there. But our bread and butter has been more what a lot of people would consider the safe firearms, like that. I guess if you want to call it, if a call is safe,
Got it.
your bolt actions, your over under shotguns. There is but we're like everyone else. We also do a lot of semi-autos. We've been just as nervous but also advocating within the different circles that that we do serve a distinct and important part in the community like that. And in society in terms of conservation, in terms of responsible and respectful hunting, responsible and respectful shooting. This is not a scary thing, and we're trying to advocate for that as much as possible. But yeah, there's definitely other manufacturers and distributors and dealers out there. The dealers are the worst hit, and we feel for them, and we see that in our dealer network and like that. These are just people trying to run a business, just like anybody else. They're trying to they just decided to get into this business because it's something they're passionate about, which I think anybody who runs a successful business must be passionate about what they're doing and like that.
Yeah, I agree.
And it doesn't necessarily mean they're bad people in the community. They're just trying to run a business and create a sport, just like any other sport out there and like that, and help support that. And they pay taxes. They're just any other business pillar in the community as they should be. Yeah, it definitely has hurt them. Where this might go. If you asked me, 6-7 months ago, we knew kind of we saw where it was kind of going like that. Now with
new government,
well, newish government, it's really hard to say. We know with all the commitments that have been announced for defense spending, that money just doesn't come from nowhere. And I don't, it's billions of dollars they're going to have to put to make the 2% NATO margin by March. Billions even more to spend to get to the 5% they say they're going to hit by 2030. So they're going to have to do cuts somewhere. And I just read an article on the way here. Actually, I was on the ferry and like that, and they're talking. And it was just an article of, a great place to start that cut is by this gun grab.
I read that as well. I read that was in the National Post, I think.
So there's been no forward movement on it really.
So they had a buyback program in place for businesses.
Yeah.
And I didn't look at what the actual numbers were on it, but I from what I understand, the numbers of firearms that were bought back far exceeded what they even thought was out there. And these are all guns that are tracked and they should know of because of the business license conditions. And if they're estimating a number for the civilian population, they have no idea. They have no idea what's out there. And the number is going to far exceed anything they ever thought of. And there's no way to tell when they've achieved their goal either.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to start a program and leave that program running indefinitely. I mean, it doesn't make sense. I see the gun bag buyback program as something that's not going to be effective, both because it's going to cost way too much money. Like it's incredibly expensive to offer a proper buyback program. Yeah. They could just decide they want to ban it instead and backtrack on the buyback. But again, they don't know where all these guns are.
Well, and the I'm sure there'll be people out there that will correct me in the comments or like that, but that even, from my understanding, the way it works also in the Canadian, system is that when you decide to ban something that's legally purchased property, you can't just say it's banned, you can't use it anymore, and that's it. They have to offer fair, like when they go in eminent domain your property. they still have to offer you fair market value for that property. You still have to they can't just take it and say, get out, see you later, like that. Like,
which might be why they talk about grandfathering. But of course, that brings in another issue. And recently, the CCFR put out this urgent video, and I think it was last Friday. So whenever this podcast comes out, people will have a bit of a timeline. And man, they came under a lot of heat. Everyone, and their urgent thing was, go talk to your MPs, and here's a PDF you can give them, and we're going to try and push for a grandfathering program. Well, in order to grandfather, you also have a de facto registry that you're going to need. They're going to need to have. And there are a lot of question marks over why that organization decided to go this route and announce such a thing on a Friday night and then push it out. I mean, there's a lot of internal drama, and the firearms community is known to be able to fight within itself. And right?
Yeah,
and,
we all are our own worst enemy.
Sure.
I was at a town hall a couple years ago in Pickering.
Okay.
With and there was a couple of the local MPs from the Conservative Party there, and it was a really well attended hall, and we got through about 3 questions to the MPs before a verbal shouting match happened between 2 of the attendees with each other like that, and it just kind of. And I'm like, yeah, that didn't take long for one guy to accuse a guy about something else, and then of course there's the one old guy that stands up and says, when are you going to bring back maybe we're going to make 12.6s legal again, and it's just like, yeah, it's like, guys, can we get on track here with the message or anything like that, right? Like everyone has their own skin in the game, and it's understandable, but you kind of need to be united at the exact same time or like that, which is very difficult amongst our community, unfortunately, right? So. Yeah,
I don't see it. Everyone says, well, it doesn't affect me. It's only for the handgunners. I don't have handguns. It's only for the hunters. I don't hunt. It's only for... So the handgunners are an important piece of the puzzle for the gun stores, because talking with the gun stores, they say the hunters, they come in, they buy their rifle, they get it all kitted out, and that was a great sale. And they come in once a year and they get more hunting ammunition.
Yeah.
Right? The sport shooters are the ones that are coming in, getting lots of ammo, getting new kit, getting accessories, and the handguns, of course, is a big portion of that. And so if people want to have a place where they can get their hunting rifle and their hunting shotgun, they're going to want to speak up when the handgunners, who are basically subsidizing this store to be able to stay open. So when we talk about, hey, people got to rally together and get on the same page, I did a podcast with a fellow who owns a suppressor manufacturer business, KGM in the States. And I got some people chime in, and it's like, oh, that's all well and good, but seriously, why are you talking about suppressors and why they should be legal? And like, you should be looking at these issues right here and now, right? And okay, we're always going to need people to hold the line, but you're also going to need people who can push things further and forward. Because if all you're ever concerned with is holding that line moves back, okay, hold it there. That line moves back again, okay, hold it there. Someone's going to have to push that line in the other direction. Yeah. And what I could see is when I try and look at this, and I don't have the answers, and I try and find out, talk to other people who might have the answers, I see some of our gun advocacy groups as being very, very good at raising donations and memberships by speaking to their base, and perhaps not putting the same efforts in areas that could actually move the needle forward or unite communities. They'll fight with each other. They'll I'm going to be cautious about how I go here, because I don't want to be tearing down certain groups. Because everyone does.
Listen, every group has its place, and advocacy is incredibly important. I agree with you. One of the things, though, that I've always thought that we should be advocating more towards is it's really simple to send me email blasts, and you're advocating, as you said, to the base. But why? But we need to be advocating and speaking to the non-firearms owners, because there's lots of uneducated people out there that don't understand I know a lot of people. I think the last time we were here, we talked about during COVID, a lot of people got educated about what it means to actually own a firearm, because I know I was getting contacted by people saying, I want to buy a gun. Cool. What's your PAL? I need your PAL so I can verify it. What's a PAL? They just didn't know. Like, they didn't know they needed a license. They didn't know they needed to go through like training. They didn't know they had to take the PAL course. They didn't know all this, that, oh, you're weekly, you're daily subjected to a background check or something like that. Like, we say these things, but how much of that is getting out beyond just the base of the firearms owners and out to the general public? Well, at that town hall meeting, I remember I talked to the MP and I said, in my previous experience with Wounded Warriors, Wounded Warriors Canada, where I was, we talked about advocacy for veterans with PTSD and first responders with that, as well as as the families. And we found a huge component of that was education, not only to the families, what was out there, but also to groups, the regular everyday population, but also to the government of kind of, this is actually what these men and women are facing. Here's what you need to improve. And so I told the MP, and I'm like, one of the things that I think would be really helpful as a government would be to create a simple information portal of anyone who's interested in owning a firearm. Here's the steps you have to do, which is, it's all government run, the PAL course, the safety course. Yes, it's run by the FSCSO, but it is essentially, government mandated and, regulated or like that, to provide an education platform for anyone who's interested in, purchasing and owning a firearm, what it takes to get there like that. Unfortunately, I was told, well, that's your responsibility, not the government's responsibility to, provide that education. So advocating for the base is excellent. Firing it up is great because you need to have that. But, and as you said, we do kind of need to unite a bit better, but we also need to educate the population that doesn't understand what we go through to own a firearm, what we go through to be part of that community or like that.
I think there's a number of steps that are already in place that people, like you say, they don't understand. But, I don't know. You're not going to convince the people who don't like them.
No.
The people who do like them, you don't have to convince, right?
Yeah.
Because they already like them for whatever their reason is going to be. But the political side, I think personally, educating the base as to how to properly approach politicians in a respectful way, how to apply pressure properly, and so that if, let's say, and how to form a cogent argument or something that would be politically distasteful for somebody to want to wear if the conversation shifts. If it's, hey, we're going to ban guns because look at all the shootings, no more guns, no more shootings, right? That logic flow is easy to digest in a quick tagline, right? But the reality of it is, okay, we've been taking all these steps to ban and shootings are going up or crimes going up, right? Yeah. Where are our efforts best served? And I think it has to become politically convenient for people to be able to speak out in a certain way. Because I think there's we look at cancel culture, right? And I see cancel culture kind of going by the wayside. At least it doesn't have the same push that it had before. But people like to belong, and they don't want to be found on the wrong side of an argument, and everyone else is saying a certain thing, and I guess it's easy enough to do. Like, you see that often enough. How do you make it easy for the masses to push together in a way that's going to be beneficial for everybody, for the masses, right? And including the gun owners. And I think that's where our efforts have to be.
I would agree. And to your comment that you're never going to convince someone who doesn't like him, and you're right. I liken it to this when I was in college and I was in firefighter training, and I was part of my medical training. They said 10% of the people, no matter what you do, are going to die.
Sure.
10% of the people you run across, no matter what happens to them, are going to live.
Sure.
It's that 80%. That's the group you need to deal with like that. And I'm just a quick point before we get to the second one you said, but I've been in the homes of a diehard some diehard liberals or diehard anti-gun people, and then they ask, well, why do you need a gun? And I'm like, I don't need one. Mm-hmm. I enjoy having it. It's a privilege I've earned, and this is the steps I've taken to do it. But I can't just walk around with it, in my, on my. It's not like in the U.S. I can't walk around with it on my. I don't have a carry permit or like that. Like, that doesn't exist so much, and it's hard, extremely difficult to get in Canada. I don't just walk around. There's rules to transporting these guns. There's rules to storage, and after explain all this to the person, they're like, "Well, that makes sense." Okay, I understand that, and I'm like, they didn't know that before, and all of a sudden, they may still not think, "Oh, I don't want a gun." but I understand necessarily why you want one. I understand the steps you have to take then to get one. So you're not convincing them, but they're not necessarily then now so diehard, kind of like, well, I didn't know that had to happen. If that's the case, so okay, I guess I'm okay with it. If you guys want one, they don't necessarily need to be the one. They don't necessarily want to have to be the one that actually buys it or own it. But all of a sudden, they're no longer as hardcore about me owning one.
And I think you're right. You don't have to convince other people of your side. And I think that's a losing battle. But having them asking some questions and opening them up.
Yeah.
Why do you need a gun? Well, some people actually do need a gun, right? Like some people, not everybody lives in the city.
Yeah.
And some people who live in the city probably need a gun.
Well, yes, so. Yeah, but definitely. But like, yeah, you're right. I have friends who are farmers and like that, and they have, they need one on their property. Why do they want? Well, because they need to defend their, their animals. They need to be able to defend their property from large predators. They need to be able to themselves if they go out or anything like that. Why do you hunt? Well, because I enjoy it or something like that. Well, don't you feel bad about, killing a deer? No, because I have a tag because they've done studies to realize that we're allowed to take this many deer without affecting the population. In fact, we're making sure that everything's in a healthy balance, because if there's too much of a certain, animal like that, it's no longer a healthy ecosystem. Or like, same thing. Why do you fish? Well, because I enjoy it, for one. And two, it's because I'm allowed to do it, and because you can't have too much of one thing. So it's just like you can't eat too much pizza, or you can't have too much McDonald's because you're not going to feel good.
It took me a long time to put that correlation. Of
course, we can do whatever.
Feel like
yeah,
that?
like we still do it because
Sure.
obviously, but you know what I mean. It's the whole. A lot of people don't understand like that the conservation, and hunting isn't just about going and killing an animal. It's and people ask me, I'm not really a waterfowl hunter.
Sure.
Because I don't really like duck.
Sure.
I'm not gonna hunt something that I'm not gonna eat.
I agree.
I have friends that love waterfowl hunting. It's just not really my thing or anything like that. I like, I'll hunt deer. I'll go turkey hunting, and I'll go, varmint and stuff like that. I help out a friend's farm, and he's like, you can hunt on my property, but if you see a coyote, you gotta shoot it. Okay, no problem. Because
there's rules.
Yeah, there's rules around that, and I'm helping them out. But it's just not really. It's just not my thing. And again, I might get some hateful comments there, but it's because I have a rule in my head that I'm not going to kill something that I'm not going to eat. Right?
Yeah, no, I don't think you get a hateful comments for that. Yeah. I'm still surprised by the number of people who don't know that you can actually still buy handguns in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So for employment reasons, if you need it for your job or for work, you can go ahead and still buy handguns. There are provisions there.
Yep.
And there's a lot of people who don't actually understand the totality of what that means. And without going too far into it, if they're interested, they can listen to past podcasts I did with Rachel Attila.
Mm-hmm.
She got her authorization to carry, purchase some handguns. I put together, I think, about 30 pages of material for the National Firearms Association. You can download that for free, step by step. Shows you, will you meet the criteria? What do those criteria look like? Because I think it's important that people absolutely don't push things in a way that they're not supposed to be pushed.
Yeah.
Don't find a workaround in a way that you're not supposed to find a workaround, but be educated as to what the rules actually are. And I think people can be pretty surprised at how many individuals still qualify for purchasing a handgun.
Now, I will say, going back to the defense and law enforcement side of this, ever since they decided to put this freeze and this ban, because they froze handgun sales, but they also banned imports initially.
Right.
Now, with the exception of government agency.
Sure.
But when they banned the imports, they actually banned it. They just blanket banned it or like that. So it took a little while for us to figure out how to actually get handguns back in the country. And it is still very difficult.
Really?
To bring handguns in. So by doing it, they've also made it very difficult to bring handguns in to support law enforcement agencies and military agencies within Canada. It used to be I'd just be able to apply for an international import certificate, an IC.
Right.
That's no longer allowed.
Really?
I have to apply for what they call an arms and munitions permit from Global Affairs. Well, I can't, but as a manufacturer, I can't apply for that. I have to get my customs broker to apply for it.
Right.
And to do that, I have to have commercial invoicing. I have to have FRT, which is the registration, completed. I have to have list of serial numbers from the manufacturer. It's a whole long list of stuff. Is it something we've kind of worked out now, and we kind of we've has a smooth trajectory to do it now? Yes, we do, but it's a couple extra steps that initially, I remember when they first put the freeze in, and I had a client come to me and say, "Okay, we want to order 1,000 more handguns," and we literally told them we don't know how to do this because now there is no vehicle to do it.
Wow.
And it took us 6 months with working with Global Affairs to
6
figure
months.
it out. And meanwhile, you have an agency that can't get their duty issued firearms because. So when that occurred or like that, it's all been smoothed out now. But again, are you surprised?
Well, no, but
Because
it always, I don't know. It always makes me scratch my head a little bit as to, like, number one, why it would end up like that, like that no one can bring it in. Number two, what had to happen in order to be able to figure out a way around? Would that be policy interpretation? Was new law created? And
not that I'm aware of, or like that. The arms and munitions permit already existed. I guess they just found, okay, here's a vehicle where we can do it now, or like that. So they kind of switched over to this. But when you put a blanket ban on something, you don't realize that it affects you. Don't. It's hard to exempt something when you like so. It was an interesting a couple years ago. There was an interesting couple of months there like that. But
I believe it. But I guess that goes to the point, which and most likely they found another way. There's already something in there, so. There's the letter of the law and there's the intent of the law. And if they're able to find a different way around it, that means basically the intent of the law is being applied through policy, through civil servants whom we don't elect in or out, and who will maintain through governments. And I'm finding, just not on the business side, but the individual side, the ability to navigate the civil servant bureaucracy is it's an art form. It's not something. It's definitely not something that comes natural to me. And I've gotten a lot of coaching and assistance in how to be able to do that. But that's another area where I think the general firearms owning public can use help from their different gun groups.
And I'll tell you, like Travis, so over 9 years of this job, that's something I've had to really work on trying to navigate and I work with all the government agencies because I have to, and the government bureaucracies, because otherwise nothing gets done on my side. So I'm pretty you learn to be pretty well versed on it, but it's taken years to figure it out like that. So it's not the average person, unless you are constantly bidding on government contracts or like that. Why would you know about the bureaucracy process
But it's a game.
to go through it, right? Yeah.
It's no hate against the individuals in there.
Absolutely not.
It's no hate against...
They're doing a job. They're just like anyone else is like that. And it's not that they're not trying to make, things harder for you. They're just working in one office in a very big system.
Every once in a while, you'll find that one individual who will make things really difficult for you. You'll find that one individual who will make things really easy for you, right? It's just like... policing or anywhere.
You would find that at a line at the drive-thru at Starbucks like that. Like,
you're always going to find that 1% policing who are just switched right on.
Always somebody like that, That
1% that's terrible, but that 98% that the masses are going to be just, we're humans, we're animals. There's a reason why animals have game trails. It's because they find a safe path. They take that safe path. It's a path of least resistance. And that's the area that I think that individuals in the firearms community can use the most help on, is how do you understand that game and that safe path so you can allow the civil servant to do their job in a way that doesn't make them look bad, allows them to do it in a way that they've got accountability and defensibility and they're showing the public they're doing the right thing, but also allows you to get where you need to go. And now I remember Dave Tomlinson, deceased many years ago, but he started the NFA. I think he started it, but he was basically the NFA for a number of years. And he put out this authorization to transport cheat sheet. And prior to him putting that out, the firearms program says, okay, you got a restricted firearm. if you want to transport it, you're going to need a separate document, an authorization to transport.
Yep.
So you fill this out. Your firearms license is good for 5 years. Your ATT is good for 1, 2, or 3 years. How long do you want it to be good for, right? And so people have to fill it out. What time of the day do you think you're going to transport it? So they fill it out. Where are you going to transport it from? Well, from my house over to the range, and they fill out the name of the range, and they go through this whole thing. Dave Tomlinson says, hold on a second. If it's good for 3 years, pick 3 years. When are you going to transport it? Well, why would you want to be a criminal if you're transporting outside of the hours that you put down because your car broke down or because there's a traffic jam? 2,400 to 2,400. What range? All approved gun clubs and ranges. So he created this sort of thing. The firearms program looks at it and says, yeah, okay, I guess that makes sense. And after a while, nobody had to fill out by this cheat sheet. They just knew how to issue it. It was easy for them, made sense. It was easy for the individual. They played by the rules, but you always need those outliers who can objectively look at it and find a way that allows the civil servant to do their job and save face. And that's why I created that template on ATCs. It's not a cheat. It's not a workaround. It just tells people who's actually eligible for it and how to do it. And I think if we can start pushing those sort of things, we might find more effective change on our ability to use guns. As opposed to that one, the civil serve one, and then of course, the political side of which I'm not a political guy. I talk to other people much smarter than myself.
It is an art to manage politics or like that. And it's not something a lot of people don't have. A lot of politicians don't have the ability to work the political system or like that. Let's face it. So it is an art form, and there's some people out there that can just do it expertly or like that, and they have my respect that they can actually survive in that arena, because
if they can do it with integrity, hell yeah.
As long as that's what I say. As long as they do it with integrity, because but it's a difficult system. But I agree with basically everything you're saying, is that that we need to be able to be a little more educated, a little more ability to work within the system that unfortunately we live with in Canada, and we need to be able to utilize it to our benefit a bit more like that, right? So, but by educating ourselves on how to do it.
And I think if people look at it from a different perspective, because there's this us against them mentality that I quite often see, and I get where it comes from. I mean, when there's so many rules that are put on an individual or on a group, all of a sudden they start making their own rules because they want to feel like they have their own control over things, and then you find these different subsections. But if you can learn how to use the rules or change the rules politically or through the civil servant process, maybe people will start playing together because they understand how that game is played. And And I don't have it fully fleshed out on the path forward, but it's something I've been thinking about lately as to how businesses, organizations, individuals can achieve an ends that meets public safety needs and allows civil servants to show their due diligence.
Yeah. Well, and I think most gun owners out there agree that we play a huge part in the public safety aspect of it, and we need to because it's important for us for us to be seen as we're agents of safety. We're not agents of chaos or anything like that. Like we're here to, we want to defend our right to own these things and use them, but in a safe and respectful manner to everyone involved, or like that. So we need to be on a voice on that board of public safety, with everyone, within the conversation, because we need to prove, that's part of it. The whole talk and communication and like that.
Well, it's how you comport yourself, I think, is big. But I also think that the more that people harp on a certain issue, the more they make that issue the thing in the spotlight. It's like I've always been advocating for, like, why do we make the gun the issue? Like if shootings are a problem, the gun's not the problem. The shooting's a problem, right? Gun violence is just violence, and someone chose to use a gun or whatever it might be. Why don't we look at the violence issue? What's that coming from, right? Is it low income? Is it lower education? Is it drugs? Is it at risk? Like all of these different, like, how do we approach it without falling into the same trap of looking at the tool, the implement, as opposed.
It's easier. It's really easy to blame the tool.
Than
it is over the larger problem as a whole, or like that. And Yeah, it's
It's a,
mental health is a it's a tricky. I haven't worked in it for years. It is a tricky thing to try to wrap your head around or like that, and it is so many. It's such a layered problem.
well, let's talk about. So you had a child
Mhm.
last time that
Yep.
we were here, so what? About 3 years old now.
It's three and a half now. Yeah,
Yeah.
just three and a half going on 10. It feels like. Yeah.
How's that working out?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, it has completely changed my entire outlook on life. I mean, you hear this from lots of parents and like that, but it really has.
Okay, why and how? Tell me.
Prior to having him, I would I was dedicated to my partner. I was dedicated to my job, but both those things kind of trade off each other. What I was doing that day or something like that. I can honestly tell you that, and this isn't my boss may be listening to this or like that. So it's not that I'm not dedicated to my job there, George. It has, but it's my entire life is now everything I do is basically dedicated to him or like that. With also trying to maintain myself and my relationship or like that. So, but it's and it's difficult, especially like I can't raise him the way I was raised. I was born in the early '80s. I grew up.
Sure.
I grew up to boomer parents.
Yeah.
They if you want to call me, I guess you would call me a millennial or something like that. But
Sure.
what they call I've heard that term, elder millennial. I grew up, I grew up still be able to, go home and come back when when the lights turn on or like that. And there was no, smartphones didn't exist. When I went on my tour, to Afghanistan, smartphones didn't exist yet or like that. So iPods were around, but
That was 2008, I think.
2008, 2009 was
Yeah.
like that. Like I didn't get my first smartphone, I think, till 2011 or something. So
Yeah.
I didn't grow up with that type of technology, and so like I admit, like if I acted out or like that, I got hit.
Sure.
Well, you can't do that anymore, like that. I guess based on if
You
you
can.
you can, but
But it
it's
doesn't work.
It's not seen the same way. It doesn't work like that. So I'm trying to navigate this as much. I think there's a bunch of parents out there, and yeah, and it's just he's great. His personality's coming out now. It's fun. Like I was on the way over here, actually driving over from we're staying downtown Vancouver, and I was driving over here and was talking on the phone. He's back in Ontario, so this is the 3-hour difference. He's getting ready for bed, and he not a proud moment for me necessarily, but he drops his first F-bomb to me like that on the phone, and I'm like, oh God, buddy, where'd you learn that word from? It's like that, thinking fully well it's probably me. It's hard to take the army out of the guy or like that, and I have to watch my wife's constantly telling me, watch your French or like that.
Take the guy out of the army, can't take the army out of the guy.
Yeah, but
you talk about, you can't hit him. When I had my first kid, I looked and I was like, why would anybody want to hit their child?
I have no interest in doing it either.
Before I had my child, I was like, well, I guess that's normal. That's how things are done. And I thought about it. I says, well, like I was stubborn. Maybe ODD, what do they call it? Oppositional defiance, super stubborn, right? And ADHD. So that was diagnosed at grade 3 severe ADHD. And I look at it. Okay, so you hit your kid, and do you get compliance? Maybe when that threat of hitting's over top of them.
Yeah.
What happens if you don't? Then what do? Do you hit harder?
That's it.
Right? Well, at what point do you stop?
Yeah.
Right? So if at some point you got to stop, maybe just don't start.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how much better I've found the ability to raise a child by giving them a layer of control. And that doesn't mean that they run the show, everything they go. It's like, do you want to go to bed now or do you want to go to bed in 10 minutes? Like either way, they're going to bed. But if you take away their control, they no longer have the ability to be able to do things because you're bigger and stronger. They don't learn how to deal with problems. It's a world of hurt for yourself and for them.
Well, and I found like I mean, I I shouldn't be surprised that already at 3.5, he's stubborn as all hell. He's a mixture of myself and my wife. She's Irish. I have Scottish and
Yeah.
Norwegian background. Not exactly the most known to be the most compliant people on earth. So so and already he's pretty stubborn about my stuff. But is he testing my patience? Absolutely, like every day or something like that. But it's also found that it's improving myself in order to be patient, which wasn't really all that, not my strong suit, I will fully admit. It's not, the only time I've ever been patient up till now, essentially, is when I'm behind, a rifle scope on a long distance range where I actually have the ability to kind of just calm down a little bit like that. But when he's yelling and screaming and crying, and I have to sit there and just kind of hold him while he gets through his fit or like that, that's a whole other, that's something I wasn't capable of until I had him. But
that pushing's important too. And when you reframe the problem, so you've done it in a couple ways. So sometimes I look at people that are really difficult to deal with. I'm like, wait a minute, they're teaching me how to deal with difficult people, right?
Yeah.
So if I can deal with this person, everything else is going to be gravy. The little mental reframe, same situation, but easier, right? For me and for them. When they push, like I tell my kids, it's good. I'm glad you're pushing. It's important you push, because if you're not growing. However, there's ways that you can push and find success, and there's ways that you can push that's going to find you're hitting your head against a brick wall.
Yeah.
And so really quickly, you start teaching them how to push and how to push in a way that'll, like, I want nothing more than my kids to not need me and be 100% want to be with me, not need to be with me.
Yeah.
Right. And I think they both reached that at an early age, and thankfully they still want to be with me.
Well, I hope one day he gets to that point, because there is definitely times through the day where I'm like, just give me a second, okay? Like, could you not? But again, he's really still really young. But yeah, I mean, but when it comes, like, one thing I was not prepared for was, we had read all up about about postpartum.
Yep.
Getting ready for it potentially with my partner like that, supporting her during the process. I was not prepared for myself to go through a battle with depression.
Right. Yeah, no, that's people don't look at the guys when they go through it.
Yeah. And I mean, as we talked about in the last time I was here, anyone who, is meeting me for the first time, I have PTSD related to my military service from my last tour.
Yep.
I've been battling for years. It was back in 2012. I almost lost my battle with it, and made a suicide attempt. Thank God it failed. And but I was at one of my lowest moments at that moment. Was I can't even kill myself. Like, how much of a loser am I that I can't even do this or like that? And I managed to, through help from outside sources, as well as just being who I am, I was able to pull myself out of it. Thank God. But I've been really good for the last couple of years, and then all of a sudden, it was maybe a year ago that I just suddenly kind of fell back into a pretty deep depression or something like that. I realized I felt just kind of alone in the whole thing and like that.
How did you realize that you're falling into the depression? What did that look like?
Really compensating throughout the day.
Compensating
throughout the day. Acting like everything was good because I felt I needed to. I felt I really needed to, around my partner, to be supportive. I really felt I needed to be around my son, showing him a strong, character and a strong person in front of him that would, kind of lead him through some stuff. Being, reactive but being, present at work. But then when I had my times, she'd put, when he'd gone to bed, and often when my wife would put him to bed, we'd take turns doing everything like that. But sometimes when she would put him to bed, she would fall asleep as well, because it's really easy to fall asleep with a little child on top of you. When they're nice and calm and they're nicely breathing, that's even better than any calm app or anything in front of you like that. Like, so it's really, really, that's like her happy place. But then I'm by myself for a couple hours, and after I've done all the dishes and the cleaning, I realize the house is quiet. And then all of a sudden, I realized that the house is quiet, but it's not quiet in my head. And just, I felt like alone or like that, and kind of just like, and I recognized this path, because I'm like, I've been down this before. I don't like. I know where this is going or anything like that. But why am I feeling this way? I have a great job. I have a family. I have my son. They're all awesome and like that. Why am I feeling like I'm not needed? Why I'm not wanted? Why am I feeling I'm not good enough?
And this is why I asked, because you've been down the path. Not everybody has. And if they start going down that path, they might not realize they're actually on a path.
Yeah.
And being aware. And the other thing I find in our community, in the gun community, nobody wants to reach out for help.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to talk to a doctor. Why? Because the second they say, oh, having some issues, is a doctor going to now say, oh, firearms license gone? And maybe that's your big hobby. Maybe they've got a big investment in there. Maybe it's a big part of their social group in their life and all the rest. And I'll say this much. Most doctors won't.
Oh, yeah.
Most psychiatrists, there's always going to be an outlier, but the vast majority of them realize that there is a separation between these two, and that worry that the gun community has, go talk to somebody.
And it's no different from all the advocacy I did prior to when I was still with Wounded Warriors, and still to this day, still do a little bit of it like that, is that a lot of police officers, a lot of firefighters, a lot of military members, they think if I come forward with my problem, that's the end of my job. That's the end of my career. They're going to boot me out. They're going to see me as weak. They're going to see me as, it's the same, my psych, when I finally, when I reached back out and I got help with my psychiatrist, it was never the question, well, you shouldn't have guns then. It never even came up.
Right.
It was just, okay, how can we help you right now? Like that. She knows I own guns. We've talked about it. She knows what I do for a living or like that. It wasn't even
because it won't
mentioned.
Change.
It's not going to change. That's not going to be a factor like that.
Right.
We know historically and statistically, suicides are not actually, people don't choose guns to kill themselves with. Statistically, it's many other factors they can choose, but the majority of suicides are not done through a gun.
See,
even if you have one in the house.
So some of the statistics, and I might not be up to date, women typically opt for pills, and men will typically opt for a firearm, from what I've seen, if they've got that availability.
It's possible,
but a rope is a lot more common.
I found, and I told you before I came out here like that. So since I was last year, I've lost 2 more friends, and I can tell you neither of them chose a gun because they wanted to leave. I've talked to people who survived it, and myself, having survived my attempt, I wanted to leave my body intact for whoever found me.
Yeah,
I didn't want it to be a closed casket for them or anything like that. If they wanted to say goodbye, I don't like the idea of an open casket myself, but it was still something I didn't want to leave.
Well, you don't really want somebody coming in and cleaning up that mess.
No,
and if that's part of the thought process, that's good. That's healthy. That's I think. Some people, they just reach a point where they just don't care.
Yeah.
And I've said this one on the podcast before, but I remember one doctor saying, I've taken this approach and I haven't lost anybody yet, knock on wood. And he says, somebody comes in and they say, I've got suicidal ideation. I'm really depressed. I don't see why I belong here. No one's going to miss me if I'm gone. I think I'm doing more harm than good. All the typical stuff that comes up, which is completely off base, but that's their perspective at the time. And the doctor says, you might be right.
Yeah.
Maybe killing yourself is the right option. However, right now you're not in the frame of mind to make a proper decision. Let's circle back 3 months from now. Let's try a few different things. If it still comes back and it turns out that you are actually a big loser and the world would be better without you, then we could take a look at next steps for you.
Yeah.
He says, to date, never lost somebody.
Yeah.
If they're able to just push forward past that and provide a little bit of an alternative perspective as to their situation, because like another friend of mine, Jay Spud, he's talking about, the darkest days he has. He likens it to, and he said this on the podcast, so it's not like I'm outing someone. He was in Afghanistan and there's a sniper with them. So he likens it to being in the hills, in the mountains. He'll go out and it's a big old storm and it's dark and it's blowing and it's hard, and he gets into his shelter, and some of the best blueboard days he's had is the day after that when it's all blown over, and you have that comparison. And if you know that there's going to be something else on the other side, but you just got to be able to hunker down for now. Yeah.
And so I remember, so there's this video that every once in a while it creeps up, but it's stuck in my head is that it was just just asking out there into the ether. Men, who do you talk to when you're sad?
Nobody.
Every single guy interviewed, no one. Or they're like, no one. No one gives a shit.
Yeah.
Or the ones, I don't tell anybody because it'll be used against me.
Uh-huh.
And it's just line of men just going like, one guy's like, we can talk to people? Like, what are you talking about? Like that. And, and that kind of leads down, the algorithms in social media. Then that leads down just video upon video of guys just saying, not necessarily all bad videos, but just of like the videos where you see where it's just men being misunderstood or men not being understood about like why or being emotional and like that, but no one can, they can't talk about it and things like that. And then or you get the Chris Rock video where he's like, only 3 things in life are loved unconditionally. It's like that. Your wife, your dog, your child.
Mm-hmm.
Men are only loved for what they provide and stuff like that. And but you start hearing these things and stuff like that. And that's where it's fun at first. But this is also, if you're already in that depressive state, I can tell you that's where social media starts becoming an ugly thing. And you already are in a bit of a fragile state, and now you really start believing it. And that's kind of what was happening to me a bit as well. And I just felt, so I have, and I have 2 or 3 friends out near where I live, out in Durham region. All of us have young kids.
Yeah.
And I started, and all of us had served in the Army together. We were the closest friends back in the day, or like that. We all had worn the uniform together. Some of us one of them even works in the same industry as me, and we're probably no more than 15-minute drive away from each other. And other than the occasional call during the year, we never talk.
Yeah.
Why don't we get together, and hang out? No one makes the call. No one decides no, we're busy or anything like that. But I guarantee it. But why can't we do that?
But I guarantee if you did reach out and call, they wouldn't say.
They wouldn't say no.
No.
So, it got me and then that got me kind of thinking why can't we do this kind of stuff? And during my partner, God bless her, like that. She, I say I'm not really religious, but I'm saying God bless her because she's not oblivious or like that. She knew I was going through a tough time and like that, but she didn't quite know how to deal with it. And something that shakes me to my core today is that she told me that I'm tearing up a little bit here, but she told me, yeah, I know you're going through a hard time. And every time you would go back in the house after we went out to the car and we're in there for a couple of minutes, I was terrified I'd walk in and you would be no longer with us.
Yep.
I wasn't suicidal at this point. This time around, I can say that for a fact. I wasn't going to kill myself. I was just going through a deep depression, and it got me. And I started, researching a bit more. And it's like, well, I ran into one of my buddies. I said that at one of the trade shows because he was also there, and we were just kind of talking. And I said, well, how you doing? He's like, oh, I'm good. Like the girls and this, and Karen's like this, and my friends. I'm like, cool, but how are you doing, man?
Right.
I'm fine. Cool. How are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, kind of lonely, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's hang out, man. So am I. Let's go to the range someday.
Yeah.
Right? I'm a member at 3 different ranges or like that. Let's go shooting.
Yeah.
We used to do it all the time in the Army. Why can't we do it now or like that? Right?
You got some cool guns too.
Yeah. Well, there's that too or like that. But yeah, the guns I can still use on the range as well. But I'm like, why can't we do this now? Just because we have kids doesn't mean we can't hang out anymore like that. We can't let's go hang out together. And it just got me kind of thinking there's lots of different groups out there. And I want to preface this by saying this is not, at any point bringing down mothers, women, our wives, our partners, and like that. They need support just as much as anyone else's. But, you see, there's lots of groups out there, mommies and me.
Yeah.
And mommy and me groups and stuff like that. And where they all get together and they hang out with their kids. And I see, I've taken my kid to gymnastics. I'm taking the swimming lessons. There's more and more, fathers are more and more involved in their child's lives than they ever have been before, historically, in a generation. But there's no father and me hangouts. father-toddler hangouts or something like that. Like, we don't get together and do that. We take our kids to the thing, we're involved in their lives or like that. And then when everything goes to sleep, we're kind of left to our own devices, and everyone's like, he's being quiet, he's downstairs, he's relaxing. Oh, he's going to go work, or he's going to go out and, mow the lawn or work out or work on his car or something like that. Like the typical stereotypical, bullshit, whatever it is, something like that. But why can't we, form support groups for ourselves as men and acknowledge the fact that being a father is despite all the great things it is, being a father and a partner, it is lonely as hell, man. It really can be.
Yeah, well, it depends on how it's approached.
Yep.
I think it's lonely quite often because we make it lonely for ourselves.
We do. Absolutely.
Some people don't have a relationship with a partner that is their force multiplier.
Yeah.
I think putting that time in ahead of time to find a force multiplier that you can work with, and both of you guys together is going to be massive. A lot of people, they don't have that. When I look at different friend groups, I've made a few notes as you're talking through here.
And I just want to say, because again, I know my wife's gonna listen to this, and Annie, she is my solid rock with like that. She's the best person.
The fact that she can identify these things and
it doesn't make it any less of a thing that sometimes I just feel like I'm by myself in certain things like that. And it's nothing that she has done or not done has caused that. It's just,
well, we do it to ourselves.
Yeah, we do.
As men.
We 100%.
And there's, okay, so have you seen, I think it was Saturday Night Live, they did this skit, and there's a group of guys, and they're all hanging out together, and there's one of the guys, he's like, well, I guess I got to go, and they all start calling him names and throwing stuff at him.
Yeah.
You're the worst, and blah, 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 and really getting mad. And the second the guy leaves, they're like, man, I love that guy.
Yep.
He's my reason for living. And they just absolutely, they do the same thing again, group of women, and this woman's like, oh, I got to leave. And they're like, oh, I'm so soon. We don't want to see you go. And the second she's out the door, they're like, okay, now that she's gone, can we really talk about it?
Yeah.
But it's funny because it's true. There are these little boundaries and these games that we play. And as guys, sometimes people think that what's happening when everyone's making fun of them or calling names or saying these things isn't because they think, well, maybe that's how they feel because they don't see what's happening behind closed doors.
I mean, there's a I remember there was a classic thing where it's a guy who was an army guy is going to go visit his buddy in the hospital who was hurt, in the line of duty or like that. And he walks in, what's up, dipshit? You can't believe you got out of that one or like that. You really had to blah, 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 just ripping on each other. Yeah. And then the nurse walks in. Who is that? Oh, it's my best friend.
Yeah.
And it's true, but we are harsher on each other. Cause that's just I guess that's who we are. It's just,
it is. And a lot of people didn't have a proper role model growing up as to how to interact properly.
Yeah.
And so when you, and I'm just kind of putting a few notes because I think you raised some really good things. So when we talk about social media and, how you can start feeding into all of these things, there is that other side, and it's all about perspective. The second that perspective shift happens, things get better, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's where talk docs come in because they can say, well, yeah, you're looking at it like this. Like a friend of mine, his father recently passed away, and he's finding that he's getting frustrated at work. He holds a high-level job in a leadership position with the government, and anyways, he's like, I don't have time for this, and my family I don't have time for, and I'm getting frustrated. And the doc's like, well, do you think maybe this is how you process grief? Oh, didn't see it like that. All of a sudden, okay, fair enough. Different way of looking at it. Same way with your wife. I wasn't sure you'd be with us when you went out to the vehicle and you came back again. You probably didn't realize at that time that that's what was going through her head. And so Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, writes a book, and he had a guy come in, and he's like, my wife died, and it's an older fellow, and he says, I have no reason for living anymore. And Victor, father of modern logotherapy, says, okay, well, what would have happened if you died first? Would you like to see your wife take her life? Well, no. Would you like to see her be happy? Yeah. Well, maybe you spared her this grief that you're going through. And it's about finding meaning in life through adversity.
Absolutely, yeah.
And sometimes it's, man, I don't want my wife or my loved ones to feel that way. okay, maybe I got to start addressing how I'm looking at this. Does that mean I change my diet, or I talk to someone, or I reach out, or we have this conversation because now I've got a little bit more purpose and a way to approach it. So I thought that was an interesting thing just to...
Yeah, and you said something earlier that we necessarily, our generation hasn't had necessarily that role model to teach us like it's okay to be vulnerable as a man.
Right. In fact, you should be.
I was never. I can honestly tell you, I was never taught that.
No,
because if you showed any emotion,
you're weak.
You're weak.
That's right.
Like, what are you? What are you, a girl?
That's right. I know what you're gonna say.
Do you want me to go get you a dress for your,
Sure.
like that's the way we were kind of raised like that. And now that I have, my son and stuff like that, it's how do you, now it's kind of all about, okay, how do I break that?
How do you show healthy emotion? How do you show working through things in a way that they can then emulate? Because you've never had that emulated for you.
And I'm thinking, okay, like I have to be able to, you have to be able to show emotion, have to be able to show vulnerability, especially to your, like I was always told that the only person you ever become vulnerable to is your partner, your wife, and even then, do it cautiously.
Right, you don't want to use it against you.
Yeah. And so you got to be able to show our children it's okay to be vulnerable. It's also okay to be strong. And some of the strongest thing you ever do is to be vulnerable to someone like that. But also, with I see it on, with all this whole thing with, again, social media, going back to like, how do we get them also into loving the outdoors again? Loving the, going out, loving, being go camping, get away from your phones and start living life again or something like that, in that environment. And what can we learn from, being in nature and stuff like that, that is healthy, not only for your mental health, but also for your own physical health. And I take that back to what I was saying with my buddy, like, hey, let's go to the range someday. There is a mental health aspect that's positive to hunting, being outdoors, and the whole firearms community, which is never addressed, is that this actually can be a positive thing. It actually, for many people, it can be a source of bonding for some of us or like that.
Have you heard of the Men's Shed Society in Australia?
No.
Okay, so it started in Australia. I think it's in a number of other countries now. It's probably in North America. But some bright individuals over there looked at it and said, women will talk about their problems face to face. They'll sit down and say, here's what's going on. Men, they don't do that. They don't feel comfortable doing that. No. But they will talk shoulder to shoulder. And so you're at the range, shoulder to shoulder. The Men's Shed Society was, okay, we got a lawnmower we have to rebuild. Hey, you've got a belt grinder, you've got a socket set, you've got this. Let's do this project. And the men get together and they work on a project. They're not there to talk about their problems. They're not there to vent about things. It's not a therapy session, but you know what men are going to end up doing? Little things will come up. Oh, I had a rough time the other day. My kid was doing this. I didn't know how to. Someone else says, oh, yeah, I had the same thing, right? Yeah. And it goes back to that Harvard study, 80 years, followed people from all different ethnicities, backgrounds, religions, genders, all the rest, for 80 years, longest study on happiness. And the number one predictor of happiness that they found was having strong social connections. Yep. And that's one of the first things that starts to go out the door when depression kicks in, because you'll self-isolate. You have kids. Okay, my priority is 100% my kid. And I did that. I went and I looked and I said, okay, if I'm going to have kids, I made this decision ahead of time. My life's over and I'm going to give everything I have to my kid. And it took me a long time to realize that's not the proper approach, because if I'm not looking after myself properly, I'm not giving 100%.
Well, that's it. Like if and to this day, to a point, I still do. If I decide, hey, I know usually I take him to gymnastics on Saturday morning or like that, but I really want to go and visit a buddy who is in town for, the weekend. Can I go do? I asked my wife, can I go do that? Like, just out of courtessy. I'm not going to be like, I'm going to go do this. It's your problem now. Like,
you're a team,
but we're a team. So can I go do that? And she's like, absolutely. And then I immediately feel guilty because I should be taking my son. Like, how dare I decide to put myself first or something like that? Like, when I should be here for my son or something like that. And he doesn't understand why is, even right now, he's back. I'm here for work. There was no choice. I had to come here for work or like that. I had to come up to BC. It was a trade show. We knew about it months in advance or like that. We knew this was happening. We knew this was happening last year because we bought our booth space last year when it was in Halifax for the Victoria show. And on on the flight out here, I felt guilty leaving, even though why? Why did I feel that way? Because I'm not prioritizing my son at that point. I'm not prioritizing my wife. I'm prioritizing my job.
But when you start looking at the reality of it, when you take that different perspective, it's like, what kind of person would I be if I didn't leave home? If all I'm doing is spending that time, my kid would be sick of me. I wouldn't be my best self. I need to be able to have these different things. And that took me a while to figure out too, you know?
So and another thing, like, that I learned from my previous, journeys through this, through PTSD and depression is that another thing that I think needs to be, definitely addressed and understood, especially, amongst this community like that, is that it's okay to sometimes be depressed.
Yeah.
It's normal.
It's a part of it.
It's part of it.
Yeah.
You're going to be depressed. It's okay.
Yeah.
Don't think of it as that I failed again or anything like that. Like, cause that definitely was going through my head is that how could I've worked so hard for a decade to get out of this PTSD, thing like that. And now I'm here again or like that. Even knowing full well it's chronic. It doesn't go away. It may rear its ugly head. I all knew this ahead of time. And yet it still felt like a failure when I was going through like when it's starting to really sink down deep into it like that. And it had to pull myself back out of it again, but understand that no, this is fine. You're going to be depressed every once in a while like that.
Well, if you look at a physical injury, we didn't choose. Most people don't choose to break an arm. Most people don't choose to be injured. But you realize, man, that sucked.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm not going to be able to use that arm for a little bit. I'm going to modify how I work for the next little bit. And in a certain amount of time, it's going to be better. And I should have 100% functionality back by this time or X% functionality back by whatever time. There's a roadmap in place and people understand that and they appreciate it and they expect it. But with the emotional, psychological type things, there isn't any visible indicator. And I don't know why people don't take the same approach as, oh, okay, indicators are here. I feel it. I can see it, right? It's not like I've got a big sign out that everyone else can see it. Maybe not, like depending on where someone's at. But there's a process here. I'm going to set my tent up. I'm going to find some shelter. I'm going to I'm going to cook up some food, make myself, right? Yeah. And you know what's going to happen? In a little bit, I'm going to start feeling better and the sun's going to come out.
Yeah, I can tell you that from personal experience. Okay, you just said you break your arm.
Yeah,
you know what that cast does or anything like that. That's a cool story.
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing so well in your head. There's shame there.
Nobody wants to talk about that one. Right?
There's no cool story there or anything like that. I can tell you because I literally built a slight career off it. My story of how I got my PTSD and my journey, the story how I got it. Yeah. It's fun. It's cool. I mean, I deployed overseas. I got to do really cool things with the military. That's cool.
Yeah.
The story how I climbed myself out of it, that's a fucking cool story. And I'm happy to tell that to people like that. And people look at me, they're like, when they hear what I did to get there, they're like, damn, man, like that, like that's a really cool thing and like that. So it's way cooler than any bone I've ever broken. And as you said, I've broken my a fair share of bones. And I'm like, that's cooler than any bones I've ever broken. Like I tell the story about, I healed my body after it like that. That was the easy part. Healing my head after, that took years and like that and real struggle. But here's what I did to do it or like that.
How many times can you tell the story without it wearing a bit of a rut into that emotional side?
You know what? It definitely does. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I kind of pulled back from doing some of the veterans advocacy because I realized that it kind of felt like my story was no longer becoming my story. It just was becoming a sales pitch. Now I then had to look at it again and saw, well, now I get to reclaim my story. It's no longer just a sales pitch to try to, raise awareness and funding for veterans. It can be, this is a story that should inspire other people who are potentially at a pretty dark part of their lives and like that it's, you can come out of it and you could be the person telling this to someone who finds it really inspiring. So
are you able to spot it in others? Are you finding it a little bit more in tune to see other people or do you maybe projecting or?
You know what? I want to say I think I can,
Mm.
but when I lost my buddy this past year or anything like that, that one really shook me because looking back now, I'm like, damn,
The signs were there, but you
yeah,
didn't see them.
yeah.
What were the signs?
He was, it was just one of those things, and I'm not going to mention names out of
Oh.
respect for the family, but it was one of those. Every time I was in town, we didn't live in the same town as each other. We were hours away, but every time I was coming up, he was always like, "Hey, if you have time, let's hang out." Not, "Hey, buddy, let's hang out," like the way he used to. Like, let's just hang, let's go get some beers, let's have a great time, or like that. It was more, if you have time. It was kind of a little cautious, a little, like not. If you have time, kind of, almost, and looking back, it was like, if you have time for me, was the full kind of sentence you kind of could infer there. Just wasn't quite as responsive to as what he used to be, or like that. Still fun. Still, like, I've known this guy since day one in the Army. We literally left on the bus together to boot camp, to our basic. And right from day one, cracking jokes and just, a fun-loving guy or something like that. We didn't deploy. We didn't deploy together. He never actually deployed, but we followed. We were Starsky and Hutch for most of the training or like that, right? Like if he was getting in trouble, I was pretty much beside him for most of the time, right? And so just this fun-loving, great guy, always there to be a helpful hand to everybody. And looking back, I was just kind of like, was he in the end there? Was he more trying to be a helpful hand as kind of a way to reach out to see if he could get some help? And I regret not. It's hard to live. It's hard. You always say like, don't blame yourself, and don't live with regrets. But it's I regret not maybe trying to be there a little more for him, or trying to make more time in order to try to hang with him when I was in town. And so it's difficult. The ones that you can see the signs on they're being obvious. It's unlikely they're at a risk of actually taking their lives.
That's what I've seen. That's
the
been my
ones that
experience.
can hide it really well are the ones that you're going to be at a funeral at, and you're asking, holy shit, this sucks.
You ever hear the poem Richard Cory?
No.
Edwin Arlington Robinson, I think was the guy's name. I don't think he had a name for the first, I think, year or two of his life until I guess his parents were someplace, and they threw names into a hat, and someone they're at a hotel or something. They said, "Your kid should have a name." And anyways, they came up with Edwin. I guess the guy was from Arlington, so that was his middle name. But he wrote a poem called Richard Cory, and I said, I'll see if I can remember it. Whenever Richard Cory went to town, people on the pavement looked at him. He was a gentleman from sole to crown, clean-favored and imperially slim. And he was always quietly arrayed, and he was always human when he talked, but still he fluttered pulses when he said good morning, and he glittered when he walked. And he was rich, yes, richer than a king, and admirably schooled in every grace. In fine, we thought him to be everything, to make us wish we were in his place. And on we work, and went without the meat and cursed the bread. And Richard Cory, one calm summer's night, went home and put a bullet through his head. And that poem has always kind of stuck with me. And it's the Richard Corys that you have to watch out for.
Yeah. As I said, 10% of the population, no matter how little the injury is, you can't save them. It's the 10%, no matter how horrific or traumatic,
They're going to be better in spite of it.
They're just going to be smiling through it, and they're going to survive anything that throws their way. It's that 80% in between that we really have to strive to really work to try to save. And I learned that is that, unfortunately, this is not the only two friends I've lost to suicide. This is not the only, there's been others before I came my last podcast or anything like that. I also lost another buddy with to it or like that. And every one of them hurts. You question, I've learned not to question it anymore. Of like, what could I have done to fix it or anything like that? Because probably nothing. Realistically, if they really wanted to do it, they're going to do it.
It's not for you to fix.
No.
There's nothing that you can fix. You can't take an alcoholic and make them sober.
No,
you can't
you're
take a
right.
drug addict, but you can't take a depressor and then, ta-da,
Yeah.
I made you laugh. Now you're better, right?
But you definitely, I think as a group as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
as men, we need to do better than, and you hear this, multiple podcasts you hear this, and I listen to podcasts all the time where they're like, men need to be better.
Yeah, what does better look like?
What does better look like? What does better mean or anything like that? Do we need to be better to each other? No, because you know what? I what we were talking earlier about, what's up? You call each other names, like that. That does have a place. There is some sort of bonding there, like that. And I think that actually that's important because it kind of is part of our.
If it's done in good spirit,
yeah,
right?
It does actually have a place, and it makes you kind of feel a little camaraderie there, like that. You know, I still call the guys I've seen in the years in the army. I see them again, and I'm like, "What's up?"
Dumbass,
you dumbass, or remember that time you did this or like that. You share funny stories and stuff like that, right? There is value to that, but so recently, this guy I know, he went up on a camping trip, boys weekend.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is going to happen on a boys' weekend on a camping trip?
Shenanigans,
Drinking,
sure.
maybe some golfing.
Sure.
Hopefully, no one gets burned by a firecracker or something like that. But shenanigans is a good way. Like
tomfoolery and shenanigans,
and all of this was happening or like that. And I took my son to go meet some of his family members and like that, and they were at like this house at a pool party, and one of the guy that I know or like that, this friend of mine, he was married to one of the girls and like that. So it was me and my son and a bunch of, and my wife and some of her cousins or like that, and all of them were girls, and I was doing the barbecuing because they asked me. I was like, okay, and they were all having dinner, and one of the girls said, "Yeah, he's up there. He's having a great cabin weekend or something like that. He's hanging out with his brother, with his boys." And they're like, "Oh, I wonder what's going to be happening up there, blah blah." And then she's like, "Yeah, and they're all going to sit around the campfire and tell each other what they love about each other." And I was like, "Oh man, that'd be amazing."
No kidding.
And all the women at the table were just like,
yeah, they're
shocked.
Yeah,
because and what took me back was, why are they shocked? Because they also know what this is not manly behavior according to what we've been led to be grown up and believe or like that. Meanwhile, that was probably more therapeutic for anyone. If any one of those guys was going through something at that moment like that, probably would have been more therapeutic and more helpful. But and everyone's like, "My God, that's so progressive," and I'm like, "That it shouldn't be progressive. It should be the norm."
I'm wondering when it stopped being the norm, because I remember podcast I did with Seb Lavoie, ex-head of BC's ERT for E Division, and black belt jiu-jitsu, martial artist, super fit, Mr. Tactical, all the rest, and he's done his research on different cultures and the warrior culture, and he's a big advocate for having a strong heart and strong mind and to accompany everything. And, you for a long time, you look at, like, let's say, Canadian military. If you're strong, that means you're physically strong and you can keep pushing and then you don't complain, right? And I was like, I got to wonder why people haven't been incorporating the psychological and the emotional and the spiritual side to all this. And he says, you have to ask yourself the question why they stopped, because that used to be a regular part of how society worked. And your warriors were going to go out and they're going to fight, but they also had faith, spirituality. Like they had these other pillars to be able to help support resilience. And we, I guess, in humanity got really, or at least in North America, got really lopsided on one side of what we considered to be strength. And I see that changing, and it has to change. It's changing because of the statistics. It's changing because it's untenable. It doesn't sustain itself over the long term.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Is that what I first did when I joined the Army? It was very much a kind of like, as you said, strength was you're physically strong. You can ruck march forever and like that. You can just take it and come out the other side or something like that. But nothing was and then again, and if it wasn't, you'd be called all sorts of different names and like that. You're weak. You're not fit to be, in the like things like you're not fit to be nothing in the army. You're not fit to, be, like in this wearing this uniform in this service and stuff like that. And there's a time and place for that, sure. But
those are typically tests.
Those are tests,
right? But not everybody knows it's a test. Nobody knows why they do it. They see other people do it and they buy into it. And some people take it too far. Yeah. But those are typically a test to see, are you going to belong? Yeah. Are you going to be beside us when we really need it?
Yeah, well, that's it, right? But I would say the strongest thing I've ever done is admit that I got a problem and I need help. And no one that I knew me at the time that I was aware of judged me for that. And so that's that's something we definitely need to still keep stressing to the population. And I'm focusing on men here like that because it's my own experience. I can't speak to what a woman feels like or what she feels during depression or like that. I'm sure it's not that dissimilar. They need help just as much as we do or like that. But there's a reason why 8 out of 10 suicides are committed by men.
And typically men's suicide attempts have a greater level of finality than women's suicide attempts.
So and as we need to do better as a society. And I'm trying to think, of, okay, how can me and my role as manager of defense law enforcement, and as a manager and as you say, like a bit of an industry leader within the firearms community, how can we incorporate this into somehow helping that in a responsible, safe, and effective manner? And we've heard of, there's groups out there that want to run hunting, pay basically guided hunting trips for veterans with PTSD.
Veteran hunters.
Yeah, veteran hunters.
Todd Heisey.
There's always that little kind of like, unfortunately, that Chris Kyle incident that if we do this, that could happen. Well, you go to any range, that could happen or like that. So I get it. As an organization, especially as a charity that wants to support something like that, they have to be very, very careful about the potential liability like that, but I can honestly say that a case of that is so few and far between. But it's veteran hunters, how can we get conservation groups maybe involved or like that? How can we get potentially even the government, like Parks Canada organization or like that, involved in supporting not just veterans and first responders, but now men as a whole running it. We were talking my son's at summer camp. My son goes to, why can't we have adult summer camps for men for a week where we go away to a summer camp just to be a kid again or like that? That'd be amazing.
That'd be fun, eh?
Yeah, right.
You're on the zip line again.
when I was 14 years old or like that, there was a place in Ontario up in Algonquin Park called SOES or Kearney. And you go there for the summer. I mean, it's a full 4 or 5 week program like that. But you go there, and you've been going there for a couple of years as a kid or like that. But my final year there, when I was 14, it was 2 weeks at the thing, learning portaging, swimming, and stuff like that. And then you did a 2-week portage through Algonquin Park.
Cool.
Right? One of the most memorable experiences of my life or like that. I've had some pretty good ones or like that. But waking up every morning, going canoeing like that.
So cool.
It helped the fact that I was 14. I got my very first kiss there on my birthday of all things.
It's a birthday present.
Oh yeah, I was it was great or like that. But dumb that down to a little bit. Why can't we do that now or like that?
You can. I mean,
we can't because we have priorities. Well, I need to look after my son. I need to look after my wife. I need to make sure the groceries I need to make sure the bills are paid. But what's the harm, as you said, if I take a week or even a couple of days and not worry about that? If you have a partner that's a rock, I traditionally would always do all the meal prep and stuff like that before I go away on a trip. I didn't do that this time around. You know why? Because I looked at my wife and I said, "You got this." And she's like, "Hell yeah, I do."
Yeah.
And I know she does. I needed to understand. I need to accept the fact that she can handle this for a couple of days without me there.
It's amazing how capable we all are. I mean,
I need to understand that my son will be okay if I'm not going to be there for a couple of days or like that. He has supports. Now, not everyone is in that situation. There is people out there that don't necessarily have that, and I get that. It's not going to be a solution for everybody. But how can we incorporate our community, not only to try to better our community and better speak for our community within the groups and for advocacy, but how can we also potentially be involved in a greater whole improving society?
We should talk offline here because I know a fellow who's been looking at something very similar to what you're talking about here, and I think I'll reach out to him.
Yeah.
And he's talking about a
something that was very successful when I was, and I think they still exist, but I'm not sure. But what were they called? Outdoors Canada or something like that. But they ran. It started out here actually in BC, and it's what I went through before I went on my climb in Nepal. They did climbing tours, like climbing trips for veterans with PTSD.
Okay.
And they eventually branched out across Canada. So now they do, like, on the East Coast, they do like kayaking trips into the Bay of Fundy and stuff like that. And they do in Ontario, they do portaging and, I go in Algonquin Park, or they go, you do hiking up in
like an outward bound type thing.
Outward bound. That was it. Outward bound. And, but it was specifically kind of focused more towards veterans and first responders. But why couldn't we expand that to society as a whole? It obviously has benefit. We know the benefits. It obviously was super beneficial to the veteran community that was suffering from mental health. But I can tell you, it's just a small segment of. We know how much there is. Maybe a higher cases of PTSD amongst at the time coming out of Afghanistan amongst the veteran community with post-traumatic stress disorder due to the nature of what it was. A combat.
PTSD is still trying to. No one knows really what PTSD is. They have ideas about it. But even the last DSM has changed how they approach. And I think they added complex PTSD, CPTSD.
But it doesn't even have to be PTSD. Just simple depression or something like that. It can be debilitating or like that.
It doesn't really even need a label.
It doesn't need to have a label. It doesn't need to be caused by trauma necessarily.
Right.
So my second bout of my bout of depression, or what happened last year, had nothing to do with trauma.
It's cumulative, though.
It is. It is. But like it wasn't a singular point of trauma that caused that. Whereas before, when I had my PTSD, my PTSD was caused by a singular incident. In my case, it doesn't always have to happen that way. But when I was going, like my last bout of depression was caused by many different factors that were not that or like that. It was a cumulative effort of kind of feeling I was losing who I was, and who am I going to be as a person or like that. But I think as a whole, like, how do we better ourselves as firearm owners and as firearms community? We have to be able to become pillars of the community.
Well, maybe we put that question out to the audience as well. And if people have had similar experiences, if they've had experiences that have led to a positive outcome, that things have worked well for them, I'd love to hear about it in the comments.
Yeah, me too. I would.
And if there are groups like the Men's Shed Society or like adult camp sort of thing that they've found value from that have worked well, I'd love to see.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that would be a really, and as well, if there's within the firearms community, if there are actual endeavors that are going for it. So I know Todd Heisey has got the Veteran Hunters. He's helped with out of Alberta. I think it's spread across Canada. But not everyone's going to be a veteran. No. And not everyone's going to be a first responder. But it doesn't mean we can't have these same conversations.
I'm a veteran. But I'm also, I'm a veteran. I'm a former soldier, but I'm also now, I'm a spouse and a father, and someone who works as a business manager like that, right? That's who I am now.
It's what you do.
Yeah, it's what I do. But I don't. People think, well, you're a veteran like that, but that's
what you did.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
That doesn't mark who I am now like that. And my current stresses and my current life, who I am now like that. But now, does that make me, does that mean I'm, like I now need something that's maybe a little more, attuned to who I am? But I know people who even served in the military, but because they didn't deploy, they don't consider themselves a veteran, so they don't apply for the programs. They're no less of. Their service was no less than mine. Just because I was talking to a guy just recently. We run a So a quick plug.
Sure.
Beretta Defense Technologies, we do run a individual officer, I say that, but an individual officer discount purchase program.
Okay.
So if you were current or ex-serving Canadian Armed Forces of any branch, law enforcement or first responder, you can contact myself, or I now have a new associate. I finally have some help after 9 years. I have an associate underneath me, and you can purchase firearms, optics, anything within our supported brands at a discounted rate. And
Fantastic.
we do this as a thank you for your service, because but the key to that is your service.
Mm-hmm.
I just recently talked to a guy who got back from Latvia, and when he found out, because I was just kind of asking how it was, and he was like, "Oh, it's a little weird coming back," and I explained, "Yeah, it was weird for me when I first came back from Afghanistan too." And instantly, once he heard I'd been to Afghanistan, he immediately downplayed his tour as it was nothing. It was nothing compared to Afghanistan. You guys really were in the shit. And I'm like, first of all, you didn't know what I did in Afghanistan. I could have been a clerk just working in CAFRO, or I could have been in Dubai or something like that.
Yeah.
Like not to take anything from what those people did, because they did excellent jobs. But you automatically go to the thing. I was in combat every damn day, which was not the case. Dude, you left your home for 6 months
To serve your country.
to serve your country.
With a question mark.
Yep. I've lost friends in training just as much as I lost friends in live situations and operations overseas. Hurt is hurt, dead is dead.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how it happened or like that. And you came back and you served your country proudly or like that. I told them, you should never diminish what you did. Whether you earned a medal, whether you earned the CD or a sacrifice medal or the Victoria Cross or like that, you never should diminish what you did, because your service is your service.
Yeah.
So
Just be honest.
If you think you could benefit from one of these programs, it doesn't matter whether you consider yourself a veteran or not like that.
Everyone else outside does.
Yeah, it doesn't matter whether but unfortunately as well, there is going to be people in that group that is going to maybe look down on you because it's happened to me where my service was Afghanistan, and I've had guys who served in Bosnia that for some reason looked down on my service because I wasn't in Bosnia or like that. We're horrible to each other as veterans. We're horrible to each other as men or like that.
Sorry, I wasn't fighting in grade school.
Yeah, sorry. I was 8 years old when that war happened. Sorry, I couldn't join you on that one like that, right? But the fact of the matter is that we never should have to lower ourselves or diminish ourselves down, thinking that we're not worthy of being happy and being healthy and being present and being just as much as present in our lives as we are in others, or like that. So I can't say it any better than that. So
I was just going to say, I really like how you said that.
So I like I want to point it out to the community, firearms community, outdoor community. One, have you had success, with your own mental struggles and like that, and finding yourself out of it? Because I don't want to be the only guy who's yelling from the rooftop or here about my, I've been there, I've done that. As you said, it does put a little dent in the thing. I want to know, have you been able to pull yourself out through positive means, either within the firearms industry community or within being outdoors? And for those of them that are running those programs or those that would be interested in starting a program, I want to hear from you as well. Because, as you said, there's some groups out there that do it, but, we need more people willing to participate and more people willing to facilitate as well.
The question is out there.
Yeah.
Challenge is out there. Let's see what we come back with.
Love it.
David, thank you so much for coming back on
much.
the podcast.